Hey everyone, Alex here. I've been studying and reviewing health products over the last 15 years, and one of the important areas of nutrition and health optimization is, of course, minerals and water, hydration. They do go hand in hand, and one of the most unique products on the market I will be talking about in this video, Quinton Ocean Marine Plasma, and in the description box below, I do have a link to more of a comprehensive document if you want to do a little bit more research on the actual product itself and just kind of learn some of the history, which is kind of interesting and fun because this product itself actually started way back when in usage and research in the 1800s and was used as well in the early 1900s. And still we have it today. So you can actually buy it from two different companies currently, are the main distributors. They are interconnected on the back end business-wise. But let's dive into it. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always leave them below in the comment of the video. And thanks for watching. And please always like and subscribe if you are watching this on my YouTube channel. So I really want to focus on the topic of hydration because it goes beyond just drinking more water. In fact, one thing that a lot of people do get themselves in trouble with is when they decide to drink more water, they chug a lot more water, significantly more, and that can actually trigger what's called antidiuretic hormone, which can throw off, actually, electrolytes and various hormones in the body. So water can be your friend, and it can also cause severe imbalances depending on what you're drinking and how you're drinking. So one really crucial aspect of water is to make sure first, of course, it's pure and structured, energized, and mineral rich. So we need to pay closer attention to intracellular hydration. So that refers to the hydration of our cells, okay? So intracellular, meaning like inside of cells. So extracellular, of course, which is also kind of important for various reasons. Extracellular would be outside cells, okay? So by intracellular, this type of hydration is facilitated by a process known as building easy water exclusion zone water. And this is a type of ordered water. And again, I'll put a link below if you just want to read a little bit about that. And there's definitely some good educators out there as well that go deeper into what that is. So this process of creating this water does in part require exposure to infrared light. Now, infrared light can be generated from artificial sources like LEDs, lasers, and of course we get it from certain types of bulbs, and the sun is our main source. So I want to highlight a specific mineral supplement, as I said, Quinton's Ocean Marine Plasma. And if you're not acquainted with this product, it comes packaged in a couple different ways. Small 10 milliliter ampules. They're like little glass vials that you snap off. You can pour, or you can pour into your mouth. And that contains a blend of ocean minerals as well as some other compounds that are unique that are in there. So it's more than just minerals. A lot of people get that confused. So they sometimes then just immediately compare it to other types of minerals, other types of trace minerals. And actually there is still some very unique differences. So the formulation itself contains around 78 diverse minerals and trace elements, in addition to phytonutrients and phytoplankton sources from a pristine vortex area off the coast of France. And when we say vortex, that literally means, and if you don't know this about like oceanography and what happens out there are certain places in the ocean all over the place, depending on how the currents are moving, and we won't get into the full mechanics of that. It just basically will create a natural vortexing movement. And there are similar water principles at play also in other bodies of water, rivers and things like that too. Okay. And the process, by the way, definitely read up on them because it's a fascinating process of how they then just take it. They're not just scooping it in like a bucket and then just throwing it into bottles. It's like 170 something steps of purifying it and processing it in a cold pasteurization process, which is very interesting. And that's actually the only way legally they're able to, at least in this country, USA, with the FDA, to be able to sell it, as well as some of the unique policies with Canada and Health Canada. So, there are problems just taking straight up ocean water and serving it up. It's not quite that simple. But anyways, so Quinton originally actually was discovered and developed by Dr. Rene Quinton, who realized that this mixture of minerals, and by the way, if you can't tell by the name, he's from France. So he recognized that what was in this unique kind of source of minerals or solution provided nourishment. So now you wouldn't just have it straight. What he was actually doing originally was diluting that seawater, okay? And it was particularly useful for individuals that were experiencing various kinds of metabolic depletion, to keep it simple. And by the way, a little side comment, you can absolutely go back and look at like all these old studies, and it's really cool. It's just fascinating. There's some mind-blowing things there. So Dr. Quinton extensively used this treatment in the beginning phases for those healing from war injuries, and even found it effective for animals, demonstrating that it could successfully replace blood volume and promote thriving health. Okay, so you can kind of see why it might be used in war back then. If you just don't have like a bunch of like blood bags hanging around, this was like way back when, what are you going to do, right, if you're losing a lot of blood? And that's pretty miraculous if you think about it. So if you just throw this stuff into the body, then it basically was a substitute for blood. And then furthermore, what they found was usually within a day or two, I'm kind of giving you some hints here, within a day or two, all that blood that was lost actually gets replaced. The body is able to rebuild it very, very rapidly. It's like it was never, like they never bled out. What is notable about the diluted seawater is it's almost identical in composition to your own blood plasma, both in its like water to mineral ratio, and it's very similar to the fluid surrounding the cells. So that would be extracellular, as well as similar to cerebrospinal fluid. Okay. Therefore, even though clients consume only like these little small dosages or small ampules of the isotonic marine plasma, it's highly effective at being absorbed into the bloodstream. And again, there's a complex reason for that, but the simple one is that the body immediately recognizes how closely bioidentical it is, and it knows it can like immediately put those, let's say, nutrient resources to use. Okay, so once the blood volume is properly hydrated, the minerals and nutrients can then easily move into the interstitial space. And so that term means it's the area that surrounds the cells, okay, and is like in between cells if they're close together. Interstitial is kind of outside or in between. So that area in particular is critical for effective cellular function and waste removal, which this space is, of course, integral to the lymphatic vessels, which again is like, let's just say, your sewer system, and also essential for a variety of immune system functions. Okay, so I often suggest the specific preparation of Quintons, because there's two forms. The one called isotonic, and you'll see that if you check out the link that's below in the description for the company website. So I use isotonic for clients that I suspect have like pretty dehydrated blood volumes, which is like fairly common for several reasons. Like I'll give you an example, like if you just have a lot of pathogenic overload, and that can be really kind of a wide variety of things. And a lot of that's obviously in the gut and things like that, and there's a lot of inflammation there. It's almost like nine times out of 10 you're going to see some dehydrated blood volumes because of that. So there is research from Dr. Batman Galiti. It's a tricky name, but I'll put it below in the description. I'm probably mispronouncing it. That has shown that individuals experiencing significant stress or residing in inherently dehydrating environments, such as modern offices, or even colder times of the month when you have a stove or like central heat running all the time. These types of different environments, these people will suffer from dehydration, or you just live in a very dry environment. So if you're like in Arizona, certain times of the year, Obviously, potentially it's going to be a little more dehydrating. But really, a lot of it happens indoors with the advent of modern heat. And of course, I'm sure we can all relate from when we were young to old, like having dry elbows or knees or just dry areas on the body more in the winter months, or chapped lips or something like that. So for many people, working indoors exposes them to wireless radiation and disruptive light wavelengths as well, including blue light, which hinders your body's ability to produce sufficient water. So essentially, when the blood volume is dehydrated, the body activates a defense mechanism that restricts the flow of nourishing water and minerals to the interstitial areas, okay, preserving these resources for critical organs. This restriction can also lead to increased histamine levels, which are often seen in clinical practice among individuals with mast cell, and you can look that up. That's become more popular and more well-known in the last few years, mast cell activation syndrome, and also histamine sensitivity. It's, as far as at least histamine sensitivities go, it's so widespread it's unbelievable. And a lot of people, when they think about histamine, they think about like allergies, like I have seasonal allergies. Or, yeah, obviously, of course, that's one form of symptoms that histamine can create. But really, histamine is involved in so many different processes in the body, and it can be related to a lot of different things, like even depression. I mean, I could just throw out a bunch of examples where histamine sensitivity or dysregulation is involved. So again, just to circle back, we see a lot more issues in these areas when the blood volume is dehydrated. So the symptoms of histamine excess could indicate underlying dehydration a lot of times, and I'll be honest, like 95% of people have varying levels of dehydration. I mean, it is the elephant in the room, basically, as far as just the entire health space and alternative health space, mainstream medicine health space. So rather than solely focusing on increasing your water intake, it's also important to establish a therapeutic approach that hydrates both blood volume and the extracellular matrix, where your immune system operates. Does it make sense? So to support this, I usually recommend people take Quinton's isotonic ampules to start, usually like 3 of them on an empty stomach over the course of a month or even 2. And just want to sidebar comment, there is a company that also sells about a liter, so you can also do it by cap. And you can do an empty stomach to start first couple months, and then once you're good, you can also get away with starting to put it in your water, which will also help transform your water and make that water more hydrating as well. So, but basically, as far as like, let's just say the couple caps or the ampules, if you can do that first, it's right dosage on empty stomach, swish in the mouth a little bit for the first month or 2. You ideally want to pair this regimen with a really full like circadian support protocol, and again, super pure water that is structured and energized appropriately. So my experience, rehydrating the blood volume can significantly diminish hyperreactivity related to histamine, and open the doors ultimately to effective hydration throughout the body. And I would just say that the commonality between also just digestive impairments, dysbiosis at varying degrees, is also extremely widespread. It's almost the vast majority of people at this point. And again, if that person has that going on, again, that is also implies histamine has to be involved with those processes. Okay. So, doing this type of protocol, yeah, absolutely super supportive and helpful. And of course, we would need to also evaluate and take a look at diet, right? Like what you're actually consuming, right? You're consuming water, great. All right, foods, what are you also consuming? So absolutely, there is some wisdom to keep it simple, avoiding foods that potentially are triggering or where your immune system is more reactive to certain items. And almost everybody has certain foods where they just are not digesting them as well. They don't pair quite as well with their genetics or lifestyle. Okay, there's a lot of different things, so it's good sometimes to know, if your immune system, if your body has a little bit of an issue with a certain food, because that will just slow down your progress. Okay, if you want to go down this path, and if you want to get the most out of the money that you're investing in your water and something like Quinton Ocean Marine Plasma, again, you wouldn't want to negate some of those benefits, or again, buffer or reduce some of those benefits depending on what you're consuming and eating as far as food goes. So in terms of practical applications, I typically advise like daily intake of 1 to 3 ampules. That totals, by the way, a small amount of about 60 milliliters for a therapeutic period that can range anywhere from like 3 weeks to 2 months. Depends on a lot of factors, but it depends usually on the individual's hydration levels and overall living conditions. So usually it's good that we have a little bit of an assessment also on like your environment and lifestyle. So when you're doing these higher dosages, there's a little bit of a higher cost with something like Quintons. It's a little bit of a higher priced supplement. But again, you're going to end up in more of a maintenance phase and at a lower dose pretty quickly if you get really focused and you get everything right. Circadian wise as well. So after that period of kind of rehydration, again, you can transition into more of a maintenance routine. So maintenance might look like, unless you're like an athlete or just like super like working hard all the time, generally maintenance routine looks like taking an ampule in the morning or just a few times per week. Now, if you do buy it by the liter, as I said before, it is significantly lower price than getting it in the ampules, because you can just imagine manufacturing costs, right? To put a few milliliters in every tiny little glass sealed ampule, right? They have plastic ones as well, by the way, but it will definitely come at a lower price point if you get it in bulk, so to say. So, which is good, right? That means you can potentially take more in that initial phase and get better results, faster results. So one additional benefit of Quinton's isotonic is the ability to assist in the regulation of the autonomic nervous system, according to the research. So this provides vital hydration and minerals, and that essentially supports the body in restoring balance, moving it out of a state of alertness, that fight and flight, or just overactivation, and into more of a path of healing, regeneration, and rest, and homeostasis. So there's a whole close correlation between the nervous system and the cells that make up the nervous system, and then of course all the other organs and all the other processes that also made up of cells. And through all of that communication, it requires cell signaling. And cell signals, they have to move through what? They of course have to go from the intracellular, inside the cell, and then they're going to have to go to the outside the cell, right? Extracellular, to either go to that next neuronal cell or to go to wherever, a different type of cell on a different organ. So it's traveling. Just think about what is that traveling through, okay? What are those waveforms? And those waveforms are, of course, being composed of subatomic particles. Right? We can get into biophysics. It has that medium or media is water, okay? But not just like tap water, of course, like what you're getting out of a faucet. It's very, very different. So you talked about it's structured, organized, and it has to have that right balance of certain key minerals, so that's where it gets like super sophisticated to talk about. But every little mineral plays its frequency role in this process. So hopefully this overview kind of clarified just kind of the multifaceted nature of some aspects of hydration. And if you have any questions about this product, Quinton Ocean Marine Plasma, as well as how to improve the results of it once you do put it into your existing water, or you have questions about, what are some of the best ways to purify your water. Again, I've been kind of reviewing all the different equipment and devices and products and supplements for a long time. You can just leave questions below in the comments. You can also direct message me. I do have my email as well if you're watching this on social media, below in the description. Anyways, thanks for watching.